Welcome back to New Day Northwest. Our next guest is an associate professor at the University of Washington and director of UW's Digital Youth Lab. Katie Davis has been researching the impact of digital technology on kids for almost 20 years. Her new book, Technology's Child, is filled with insights from her research and offers strategies and tips for managing kids' tech use. Welcome to New Day. I'm so glad you're here because every parent I know is dealing with this screen time issues in one way or another. So what first made you get involved in studying kids and technology?
Well, as you say, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. My first career was as an elementary school teacher, and this was back in the early to mid 2000s. And back then, even though it was, a long time ago, even then it was very clear that technology was becoming increasingly central to the way kids learn, but also just the way they understand themselves and their place in the world. And so it just fascinated me. And so that really motivated me to go back to grad school. And from there, I was, off and studying the role of technology in kids' lives.
Well, it's interesting. I remember I have a little sister I'm much older than. She was watching that Baby Einstein. And everyone thought Baby Einstein was the greatest thing, and you just plopped in front of the TV and it played the music, and it was going to make him smarter, but
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No.
You're also a parent now to a 6-year-old.
I am.
How has this perspective now impacted your understanding? I mean, now you're in it, and sometimes that temptation is there to just let them. How does that impact
it has impacted me so much. So before I had Oliver, when people I met, my friends, my family, when they asked me what I do, and when I told them, they would say, okay, so is technology good? Is it bad? And usually as a researcher, I would say, well, it's complicated. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And then I became a parent, and I realized that sort of "it depends" answer is not helpful. It doesn't.
Thank you. Thank you.
It doesn't help you make concrete decisions about how many episodes of Paw Patrol should I let my son watch, or when should I introduce them to video games or give them their first phone. And so that really motivated me to write this book and try to bring the complexity of the research and present it in a way that's concrete and actually useful for parents and teachers.
All right, well, let's get to some of that concrete research. What are some of the best strategies for dealing with kids' tech use?
Well, so there are really two questions that you want to ask yourself. Because the thing is, it is complicated, and that's because the technology is different, kids are different, their contexts are different. So you do need to zoom in and pay attention to individual kids. But you can ask yourself these two questions. And I ask myself every day. I say, is this experience self-directed? And by that, I mean, is my child in the driver's seat of their tech use? Or are they being led? Is their attention being co-opted?
Yes.
As much as you can, you want to err on the side of self-direction, agency. Your kid is actively involved.
Okay, and just to give an example of that, am I correct in assuming when you say that something like YouTube, where the videos constantly are moving forward and they're giving, that algorithm is just feeding your child something constantly, is that something that is not self-directed?
Not particularly. So that, I think you're talking about autoplay. And so that's actually a particular design that they called a dark pattern. And that the dark patterns are designs that specifically are there to co-opt our attention, to hold our attention, because that's best for the bottom line.
Okay, and that second question, what's a good example of that?
The second question is it community supported? And so when you're talking about little kids, my son is only 6, mostly the support that he's getting around his technology experience is me deciding what he can access for how long. As kids get older, though, they have more of an independent life, and some of that community support is going to come from their peers, their teachers, even the platform itself, and the people who are on it can be more or less supportive. And so, those are the two questions that can really provide a useful lens for parents and teachers to really take stock and understand, is this technology experience supporting my child's development or is it getting in the way?
So moving forward, you mentioned the older kids. A lot of kids now are getting iPhones, phones, watches younger and younger.
Yeah.
Does the parent function, the family function, where you can restrict what they're doing, does that help at all? Or is it really just a mask for, letting them go wild?
It can help, depending on how it's used. And one thing I would urge parents to do is not to use it as a way to spy on their kids or to punish them or anything like that. But ideally enter into the first phone and all of the capabilities surrounding it as a conversation. And it's part of that developmental process where kids are becoming increasingly independent and autonomous, and they need to be part of that conversation. So absolutely, the parental controls can be useful if they're used to really work for your family and they make sense for them.
Well, my last question for you is, you talk about the concept of being a good enough digital parent.
Yes.
And I like this idea. Will you explain it?
Yes, so I talk about the good enough digital parent. It's an idea that comes from the mid-20th century, before technology, the good enough parent. And it's this idea that actually, if we're always there for our children to get them unboard if they're bored, or to solve their problems if they have a problem or a fight with a friend, if we take care of everything for our children, they don't develop their own resilience. And so if we take that into the digital context, good enough digital parents are not going to be perfect at every decision around technology. But what they're going to do is they're going to try things out, they're going to observe the impact, and they're going to readjust as needed. And they're going to be kind to themselves, knowing that I'm a researcher, I know there's no one right way to do this, and you do need to tinker a little bit. And importantly, good enough digital parents go easy on themselves when they inevitably slip up with their own tech use, because we are doing it too. We are pulled by these.
Modeling
yes,
behavior.
we are. And you know, I often, when I find myself looking at my phone, I'll use that as a teachable moment and say to Oliver, you know what? I've been distracted. Let me put that away, and we'll continue playing Pokemon, which that's what it is these days.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience, sharing your wealth of knowledge in your new book, Technology's Child. Katie Davis, thank you so much for your time here today. I've learned so much from you.